Now, we just read some news coming from the White House indicating or highlighting that tariffs to China, because they failed to take back the 34%, which President Trump had told them to take back 2 days ago. China now has got 104% of tariffs that are being imposed on all imports from China into the United States of America. This is something that we read today and something that is not good. It shows us that the tensions between the two countries continues, and it's something that obviously to investors we obviously want solutions. We obviously want the trade talks so that all these things or all these tariffs can disappear, right, or fade away, so that it can be business as usual. Now, with that, just now, as I'm doing this video, we also read that China right now is imposing 84% of tariffs onto all of the US imports into China. This is something that China is doing to retaliate to the 104% that has been imposed by the White House or United States of America onto Chinese imports into the United States of America, which is something that is not good at all. It shows that the tension continues. It's still back and forth. And one thing that you must know and understand about China is that they are saying that whatever the United States of America has to throw on them, they are ready. They will fight back. This is what they've been saying. This is what even some of the Chinese state premiers and other executives are saying about the tariffs that are being imposed by obviously the United States of America. They say China does not cause any problems. China wants peace, but if provoked unnecessarily as being done by the United States of America, they will act. And yesterday, you'll remember that we played a video, or I played a video, where the president of China, President Xi Jinping, highlighted something, or he was talking on a video saying that China's economy is a sea, and a sea does not get to be destabilized or does not overturn when there are heavy rains, right? Whereas a pond can be disturbed by heavy rains, which is something that he's just highlighting that, or he was just highlighting on that video, that China is a country that is quite stable, and things like tariff from the United States of America won't make things to go out of place because their economy is strong. One thing that we've been seeing coming from China, which I've also discussed, is obviously being able to sustain themselves. You will remember with the issue of chips, which we have discussed, where Nvidia or some of the US chip producers during the Biden administration were stopped from shipping some of the chips into China. But what did we see? We see China encouraging companies to start producing chips, encouraging more companies to start producing chips, which is why we saw even our very own NEO developing their first in-house self-driving autonomous chip, which right now it is able to beat 4 Nvidia Orin chips. It is able to obviously compete and beat the Thor Nvidia autonomous driving chip in some of the cases. This is what NEO said, and this, my friends, simply means that whatever the US does to try to punish China, all it's doing is just to make China stronger, right? Which is why we have now an AI platform called DeepSeek, which is why right now we've got so many companies that are developing their chips in-house. NEO is not the only company that is, or not the only EV company rather, that is developing their own chips. XPeng and Leoro, I think, they are also in a process of developing their own chips, which this shows you where China is headed. Obviously, with these tariffs, it makes China stronger, because whatever heat they feel from this, I tell you, they make sure that they do something, or they implement, they improve their economy so that they can be able to sustain themselves. And US on the other side, of course, they are also growing, they are also developing, they are also, I mean, they are the biggest or strongest economy in the world, and therefore whatever they do at China also will sort of like have an impact, right? But it might not have as deep or as much impact as some of the people are saying out there, because China is able to do, there are some things that is doing so well, there are some sectors that China is doing so well, even more than the US, like the EV space, like manufacturing. There are some sectors where obviously China is doing exceptionally well in terms of production, in terms of sales, which is something that obviously, in as much as yes, we are having these tariffs, China, it's still whatever they are retaliating to the US, or whatever tariffs they are imposing to the US, it is going to also hurt the US in as much as it can hurt, of course, China, right? This is something that we must have. Someone said yesterday, Trump right now needs a deal. He needs to make a deal with some of these countries, and the way things are going, it will be difficult for him to make a deal. And these tariffs is pressing and pressing China until China can maybe even give up, of course, their majority shareholding of TikTok, which China has already said that it's not for sale. They are not going to sell it. This is what we are seeing today, and hopefully things get better with time. But as it stands, yeah, it remains back and forth of tariffs, right? And companies like Tesla, companies like Ford, companies like General Motors, companies like Qualcomm, companies like Nvidia are going to suffer because of these tariffs. Because anything that comes from the United States of America into China right now is going to get 84% of tariffs. And anything that comes from China into the United States of America is going to get 104% of tariffs. Now, the difference now is that which country benefits the most between the two countries. Because I can tell you now, if we look into the EV space or the EV industry, you'll know that Chinese companies are not selling their EVs as yet into China, but US companies like Tesla is selling their EV cars into China. And China, if my memory serves me well, Tesla last year alone in China, they sold over 600,000 cars in China. And with these tariffs, the biggest question remains, is Tesla going to sell the same quantity? I think not, because they're exporting some of the products, some of the parts they are using to build their cars. They are using to build their cars. And this, my friends, just simply means one thing. With these 84% tariffs, they are going to struggle, which is going to open up, or which is going to make it easier for the local car companies to take away the sales from Tesla, to take away the sales from Ford, GM, and the others, which is something that is not good at all. So yeah, man, looking at our favorite stock NEO, we have discussed that this does not impact them as much, and therefore we can of course take a breather, because NEO is not selling their cars in China. But yes, there might be few chips that they're still getting from Nvidia, which those are the ones that should get that 80% tariff. And judging from what the president of NEO CEO said sometimes last year, to say that they use chips worth $5,000, if total chips that they are using on each and every NEO car is $5,000, and we are saying maybe 30% of the chips they are still importing from the US into China, it means that just only $2,000 they are going to see that 84% of tariffs, which is very minimal, right? Whereas when you go into Tesla now, Tesla building their cars in China, when you go into that, if whatever they are using to build, they are exporting from the US, or let's say half of the parts they are using to build Tesla cars, they are importing from the US, guess what that is going to do onto Tesla sales? It's going to hurt them so bad. So this is what we have seen, this is what we are seeing, this is what is happening right now as we look into the tariffs between China and the United States of America. I hope things can get better, man. We hope for the best. I hope we can get to a point where we see uh, these tariffs, of course, fading away, right? And there is talks, or there are tariffs talks that result into these companies not, or these countries not imposing so much tariffs onto each other, because in as much as, yes, we can talk of who is going to get hurt the most, and the bottom line is that all the company, all the countries will sort of like feel the pain one way or the other because of these tariffs. And this is something that obviously we do not want as investors, because it compromises the performance of the companies we invest in the stock market. Otherwise, that's all from me. Blue skies coming. Long term will win. Those that are persevering throughout the headwinds, the share price will most definitely be rewarded with time. I'll see you on the next one, and God bless you all.